And we are live.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
How we doing?
How's it going? This is episode 9, isn't it?
This is episode 9, the worst Star Wars film.
Well, controversial.
I went there. Whoops.
Yeah. Episode 9. That's crazy to think. I mean, episode 9 now, and we were just talking briefly before we came on air. Obviously, that shops and stuff are talking about opening. So, I, to be honest, I wouldn't have thought it'd be 9 weeks and we'd be talking about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We started this as a little jaunt, and now it's becoming an ever-increasing measure of how long this has been going on.
just to reinforce,
thanks.
Reinforce the relentless nature of the coronavirus. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Obviously, feel free to share it all around and tag us. Please do.
And tell us if you're here on the chat.
Yes. Shout out on the chat, please.
Say hello, because we are watching the comments, and we'll also be going to the comments for questions. So yeah, feel free to fire in any hot takes.
If you've been here for 9 weeks, you should know it's an interactive program. So please get involved.
Yeah, it's not that we run out of things to say, so we have to look to the listeners for content.
No, we've always got something to say.
Exactly. I'll start the drink conversation. I am drinking a mug of green tea with honey.
Ooh, nice.
Not alcoholic again. I had some alcohol left over, and then it was I didn't drink on Saturday, and then it was a bank holiday, so I drank them on Sunday night instead. And I forgot to get my beer garage order in time, so I'm sorry about that. Nick, what have you been doing, and what are you drinking?
Well, the boring part is that I am drinking an Australian imported lager crafted to refresh for the thirsty.
Okay.
Foster's.
Castlemaine? Oh.
They don't do Castlemaine 4X anymore. I used to drink that loads at nights out when I was younger.
That is the Australian lager, isn't it? Because Foster's, they don't really drink it, but Castlemaine 4X is what they drink.
Yeah.
Or
like
VB.
us and Bud Light.
Yeah.
No. What?
And then the rest of my time in between shows, I've been moving house. So you can see there's a different...
Ooh. We thought it was a green screen. We thought that you just trying to wind people up with a green screen.
You can't see much of it, thankfully, because it is a bit of a state. I haven't unpacked everything yet. There are a number of piled up things in the corner that when we invite our guests on and the screen becomes wider, you may notice quite a lot of mess. So sorry about that.
That's I'm like, I don't know, 2 feet away from this wall, but I'm like backed up against the wall basically, because anywhere beyond this forward, it is just a mess. So it's all an illusion. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Andy, what you been doing?
Well, like I think we talked about last week, I'm back to work now, and I'm back to work full time as well. So from home, but so that's been challenging this week, I will say, because there are still a few people furloughed, so I'm having to do some jobs that other people would normally do that I've never done before. And it's really fun learning stuff on your own, isn't it? You know, and when you can't just turn to someone next to you and say, "Oh, this process here, blah blah," it's like, oh, you have to get on the phone, and it just becomes this whole thing. And then it's suddenly like, let's share screens, and it's like, no, please don't, because I don't need to get my search history. But yeah, you know. So, but aside from that, I can't complain. You know, been running, been for a couple of runs. If Chris Serbin is watching right now, I'm really sorry, Chris. I was in the zone when I saw you earlier. I was on my run at lunchtime, and Chris was looking really smooth on his bike with his lovely daughter in the little back seat, and he was staring at me. But I couldn't. If I'd have stopped, I probably would have died. And I was so close to home that I just couldn't. So as I ran past him, I just pointed at him and went, "How we doing?" Like that, you know, like Mr. Motivator. But then yeah, then I saw his child's face looked mortified at this bearded, sweaty man running towards her in a high-vis vest as well. So, Chris, I'm so sorry. I would have stopped and talked, but I probably would have dropped down dead and you would have to call an ambulance. So, apologies for that. But I'm undoing it now with, as people know, my obsession with Aldi or Lidl beer became quite bad. I went back and tried to find if they maybe had some stashed in the back. It's sold out. Can't find it. Can't get anywhere. But they do have another beer from 71 Brewing, which is a New England IPA. So I'm going to give this bad boy a go. I'll be honest. I put it in the freezer on Saturday night and forgot it was in the freezer. So it did defrost earlier today. If it blows up on me now, hey, it's been nice knowing you.
Yeah. Here we go.
That's the way you always open your cans with your mouth. It's weird.
Got no nails to bite them.
Oh, the anticipation.
Right,
that's a lovely sound.
Yeah. Disappointing that it didn't blow up, though.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That'd have been really funny.
71 Brewing does it again. Luminous Lights New England IPA, available in Lidl.
I'm surprised they didn't get in touch with you, mate. The amount of influence you've got on Instagram, I thought they'd have been jumping at the chance.
To be honest, I haven't put it on my Instagram. I only talk about it on here. So,
well, you're slipping, mate. You're slipping.
Right, anyone watching, let us know what you're drinking, please. We like to share our drinks, so please in the chat, hit us up and let us know what you're drinking.
Yeah.
We're just going to wait patiently for that.
Yeah. Come on, please.
We're waiting, please. We're waiting. No,
time is money.
Yeah.
You watched another film on Friday night.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, we watched Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
And me and Nick were both very tired while watching Dirty Dancing, because Friday I went out and met a friend of the show, designer of the logo, Meg. And we had a socially distant walk around Abington Park and a catch-up, so that was nice. But it really knackered me out because I walked to Abington Park from Kingsthorpe and back, and I thought, yeah, good bit of exercise. So me and Nick watched Dirty Dancing. We rabbited on for a bit about it. We had a couple people watching, and then we got really aggro, and we were like, if you were watching, because we could see people watching, we were like, if you're watching and you're not commenting, this is bullshit. Like, who are you? And like, this one person was watching it, and then it went up to 3, and we were like, right, who is out there? Please tell us who is stalking us. Like, we need to know what's going on. And then we were like, right, if you don't comment in the next 3 minutes that you're watching, we're cancelling. And we, so we did. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you're watching now, there you go.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Scandal.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I'm pretty tired.
When we watched Grease 2 the week previously, I was so hammered that it probably wasn't very entertaining to watch me just absolutely talk at the speed of sound and sing along to Grease 2 really badly as well.
Yeah. That was the difference, because with Grease 2 there were songs and we sort of talked about, and we were like ha 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 and like sang. But with like Dirty Dancing, which is an amazing film, I was having to be like, yeah. So a little fact here: Patrick Swayze got his knob out there to get that take. It just didn't have the same energy,
We've had a few people comment in the chat about booze. Sweet but deadly says 4X Brewing in Brisbane still being on the brewery tour. Wow.
Right.
Wow. Fancy. Tim Astrop, shout out to the bro. Polly's Brewing, just 2 bodies, double dry, hot, pale. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'd give it a whirl.
Mm.
Oh, Dan's drinking Yeasty Boys.
Nice. I had that the other week actually.
Big mouth, yeah.
But yeah, it was good. Good stuff. That.
Such a brilliant name.
I like that. Yeah. Nick's former housemate Emma has said about us watching Dirty Dancing that she said it was really nice to hear Nick through the floorboards having the time of his life.
I think she's referring to Grease 2 rather than Dirty Dancing.
Right. Maybe. No, because I had the time of my life. Sure, it's a pun on the film.
Ah, yes.
True.
Yes.
But I was having a much better time watching Grease 2. Very loudly.
Just to you said Yeasty Boys is such a good name. It just reminded me of Chris Servin's brother Matt once told a joke about I'm going to completely butcher the joke. I'm not even going to butcher the joke. I'm not even going to tell the joke because I can only remember a couple of words. But it was something about people having sex with animals, and they were called the Bestiality Boys. Now, I thought that was brilliant. But,
I remember when we showed up to
Cheers.
a practice, and you put that on the practice. We put the band name on the practice room door, and it just said Bestiality Boys. So brilliant.
I do not condone bestiality.
No,
That's
none
going
of us do.
That was a cue for you two to say that as well.
Oh,
I don't condone it either.
Anyway,
really shouldn't be allowed.
No. Anyway, on with the first guest. Now, this person comes up in conversation regularly because he is heavily involved in the Northampton music scene. He's done a lot in terms of promotion, and you only have to follow him on Facebook or on Instagram to see all the good stuff he's doing, shouting about people that are putting good work in and maybe not getting the promotion they deserve. But anyway, we'll let him talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, David Jackson.
Claps in the chat.
How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yourself?
Very good, very good. What have you been doing? I know we briefly had a quick sum up before we went live, but yeah, you're could you tell people what you do and what you've been doing since all this shit's been going on?
Well, obviously, most people kind of, see me pointing cameras at people, mainly Nick over the years as well. I could do a pretty good collage, I think, of, Nick. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, for everyone, involved in the music scene, it's pretty much ground to a halt. So nothing in the shape of that. Me and Phil Moore have been working on some archive stuff, which have been looking back at. I realised I've got tens of thousands of pictures knocking around hard drives, which I never looked at. So, one of the things I have started doing, which is starting to get out there, is just looking back at some of the Northampton music scene over the kind of last decade plus. It's about 13 years worth of new cassettes photos that I've got. And they're all going to come out at some point, and other bands as well. So yeah, I mean, doing that, and then I have a day job as well, where I'm pointing cameras and video cameras at other people and other organisations and such like. So that has been keeping me pretty busy, I'll be honest. I mean, I've been lucky in that I've been able to still be going into jobs, going out, filming bits and pieces. I've done some stuff down at some COVID testing sites in Northampton, and stuff like that. So my world is kind of ticking over without the music stuff going on, which is a massive shame, because obviously it's something I kind of shout most about from online about, what I do and, get involved in. But yeah, just kind of quietly getting on in the background with stuff, just kind of waiting for all this to blow over, really.
What has actually happened with your work with the Chronicle and Echo and covering music and entertainment?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously people probably saw that each week I'd post pictures of, print pages of, who was getting coverage, what I decided was worth shouting about. And at the moment, there is no ENTS supplement in its traditional form. There is nothing going on, nothing to preview. So, it has largely been, there is still content sandwiched between news and sport, but it's not in its familiar kind of sense. But we've just been trying to carry on doing stuff online. I mean, as you'll all know, there's still a lot of people doing a lot of good things. There's a lot of people raising money to try and make sure that there are places out and about that we've been following them, musicians doing all sorts of stuff. So I guess there's still stuff out there. There's still stuff which has been written. There's still stuff which I'm writing and slowly posting out. it's just not about, live stuff really. So there is still coverage there. It's maybe not, it's not in a print form. The print form will hopefully return at some point. When maybe later in the year, maybe next year, who knows at the moment. But currently it's just covering what we can. There's still quite a steady run of releases coming up, which we're speaking to a few people about, doing some previews for, and just trying to just make sure that coverage continues, so people know we are still there and stuff.
Yeah. I think you're obviously you are well known for going to loads of gigs in Northampton, because that is part of your job. So obviously now that's not happening. But I've seen some of your social media posts about you are still, like you say, going around to testing sites and things like that. Can you talk about that sort of stuff you do?
Yeah. So basically, besides music, I do a lot of work for comms offices. So, press offices around the county for police, for fire, for councils, for anyone that has like a comms team. I, have done bits, I've worked for some on a regular basis, some on a less regular basis, and have recently been lent out to Army and NHS to do bits of filming for them as well. So the COVID example I mentioned the other day was down on Cliftonville. There's these test sites, and it's just producing short videos and stuff for them, interviews and stuff for essentially comms teams to work with. So little bits and pieces like that. It's largely what consumes my day to day anyway, and then obviously music of a evening and weekend and stuff like that. So it's I've been lucky enough that he's carrying that work is still there. I appreciate there's loads of people that be dying to be working at the moment and not furloughed, but I guess I'm lucky in that that's still there, and there is still, I guess, if you look at the people who a lot of the people who I'm working for, they are, I guess, emergency services-ish kind of people that still are very much on the front line and working and have stuff they need to get out there.
Yeah, for sure.
You shared a couple of things today that that interested me. You had the gig, the fundraising gig that's going on at Bedford Esquires, and the Crawford Arms hitting their fundraising target, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. Obviously the Bedford thing is great for them. I mean, both Crawford and the Squire, Crawford and the Squires have both, smashed the fundraising targets which they've set themselves. And, hopefully that is going to go some way to making sure that they're still there at the other side of it. So we've been covering bits and pieces about that. And of course there was the Don Brocco announcement, this morning for them. And that's great. I mean, Don Brocco going back and playing for free. So that's, hundreds of pounds more into making sure the Squires is still there. And they've done fantastically. And the same with Jason and all of the Crawford lot. They reached the target they want to. And I don't think, obviously, that puts both venues up, on a better standing for the next few months. But clearly there's, more work that needs to be done, I guess, to keep, any business afloat. But so they're just a couple of people that we've been interviewing and covering, and just wanting to shout about the things that they're doing to kind of keep, they'd usually be in the news with what they've got coming up, what they've, gigs that they've had and stuff. So it's just trying to keep them in the public conscious, really.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Now I've just dug out a load of in between us having a brief chat before going live. I'll post them afterwards. A load of pictures from one of the Don Brocco shows there in 2015, when they all look 5 years younger and a lot hotter. So it's been good. I mean, things will hopefully get back to normal on the music front at some point. In what shape or form, not too sure.
Have you got any? Sorry to hog the time with David here, boys. If you've got anything, feel free to shut me up. Have you got any insider knowledge about any plans or what it looks like for venues opening up again?
I think I genuinely don't think anyone knows. I mean, that's the problem. That if you're a theatre, I guess you can enforce it where you have seats people can sit on and seats where people can't. You could logically have a one-way system. If you think you could, you could block off Derngate. You probably couldn't make it financially viable, but you could do that. But I mean, the idea of suddenly getting 800 people into the Roadmender, the Roadmender are working on something, to try and get people back in. But again, this idea that all of a sudden we're going to flick a switch and have 800 people in a room, it's not going to happen.
No, I'd read a story a while ago now that Sweden had, I think it was in Stockholm, they had social distancing gigs. There's like a 500, 600 capacity venue, and they had 40 people in it. all stood like 2 meters apart from each other. Bizarre. I think it was like an enemy article. Yeah, to cover all the costs. Yeah.
We've had Sleaford Mods have announced today they're doing something from the 100 Club where £10 a ticket for there's no fans in, but you can watch it. It's multi-channel mixed, professionally recorded. So they're looking at that. Whether you could roll. Clearly, you wouldn't be able to roll that out with that degree of professionality across the entire industry. But
well, I know Code Orange did that for their album release show. They played in an empty venue in Baltimore, maybe full size, 1,000-cap venue, just them on stage, fully mixed, everything, and then just cameras, and they performed like there was a crowd there. It was really cool. Like it's around on YouTube, Code Orange, because when the lockdown happened, it was like right as their album released, and they already had the show booked as their album release. They were just like, "Fuck it, we'll put it on and stream it on the internet."
Yeah, I guess it's then making sure the venue can monetize it somehow.
Yeah.
Because clearly, they've got to have a part in it as well, and I think we'll probably see more stuff like that. We'll see live broadcast of varying quality. Those people that can do it, multi-camera, professional sound, the lot will do it, and those that can just do it, with the smartphone, will do it, and we'll see.
I've got a question on the live comments from Tim Astrop. I wonder why he's watching. The question is, with the announcement, this is for you. You're probably the most qualified person to answer this, Dave, if you fancy. With the announcement of the Cultural Renewal Task Force by the Cultural Secretary this week, it's unsurprisingly manned by lords and ministers. Who would you sneak onto it to make it more better?
I just fear that you've clearly got very intelligent people that are elected to these things, but that have no industry experience of the real world. And you see it. It's always frustrating when you see millions and millions going to theatre and opera when budgets are given out and almost the scraps given to, I think, what all of us would think is the grassroots music scene. So it would have to be someone that represents that, what we would consider grassroots music, quite who it would be and who'd want it. Christ, I don't know. No idea. But I'd love to see someone like Jason from Sleaford Mods do it.
Yeah, I'd say like Barry Chuckle.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Yeah.
Someone with a kind of punk attitude would obviously be great. But maybe in all seriousness, someone who's maybe someone like Emily Evis. I know it sounds like a bit of a cop out, but she loves live music, grown up around it.
And she's
a serious answer.
Yeah. So, sorry, what did you say there, Dave? I didn't quite catch it.
And she's high enough profile figure to people that really maybe don't know maybe some of the industry that she represents.
I'd say Bono. No, I'm only joking. No, I'd say Major.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Let's just redo Live Aid, huh? How about that?
Give me all your money.
Pick up the fucking phone.
Anyway, let's speak to somebody who was also probably very qualified to answer that question. She is a singer, songwriter, label owner, paddleboarder, barista. I mean, I could go on, but I think it's better just to introduce, ladies and gentlemen, Charlotte Carpenter.
Claps in the chat.
Claps in the chat, please.
Probably the best intro I've ever had.
Hey, he's getting good, isn't he, Josh? You know, he's
Getting good. Yeah.
He's a good presenter.
He added paddleboarder as well, because you can explain why paddleboarder. Why is Josh saying paddleboarder, as you were telling us?
So last week, I've done paddleboarding before, like on holiday, but last week me and my girlfriend were just like, yeah, we're not going on holiday this year, are we? And then we thought, okay, so what are we going to do? Because it probably looks like we can't camp either. So I thought, you know, we live like in the middle of the country around loads of rivers and canals, so let's get a paddleboard. And that's what we did. It came the next day, and now we've just been milling around the River Nen for a couple of days, really. It's been great. Good life.
It's a great way to spend your time.
Yeah.
This weather.
Have you been getting any weird looks from people, like going, "Oh, look over there, that
No,
girl on the paddleboard"? No.
There's loads of people doing paddleboarding too, and there's quite a lot of people doing wild swimming.
Oh, okay.
Is that like this? Like,
I mean, I think it would look like that if I tried it. But it's. I went to a really popular spot in a village called Waddenhoe.
Okay.
Which is like near Thrapston. Yeah, it was really, really good. I haven't jumped in yet. I feel like that's like what the pros do, and I'm not there yet.
it must be fucking freezing though.
Yeah, I know. It'd be really cold, I think.
Yesterday it didn't feel too cold, but today I was like, no.
Are you full wetsuit, or are you just like straight up t-shirt, shorts?
The first couple of days we did the wetsuit, and then it went down to like half a wetsuit, and then today was shorts. So, yeah,
I'm glad it went there, because I thought it was going somewhere else.
And a life jacket, presumably.
No, we haven't done that actually. Apparently, you should have a life jacket whilst paddling on the river, and we will. But,
that's wild paddleboarding without a life jacket.
Yeah,
extreme paddleboarding.
I like it.
Gnarly.
We're so cool.
Oh god.
Charlotte, so you are a singer, songwriter, and as I said, a record label owner. How's things changed since we've not been able to do as much music?
I mean, from a like singer-songwriter perspective, all of my gigs got moved to May next year. I didn't have that many anyway, because I'm mostly just writing, so it hasn't scuppered my plans too much. But the support tour that I did have, it's just been completely rescheduled till next May. And when I got that email, I thought, what? But now it's just like, okay, see you next year, you know. And then on the label side of things, it's been a bit of a weird one. I did a release with an incredible artist called Party Fears, based in Berlin, just like the day a lockdown was announced. And it was such a shit time to release music, because at the beginning, everyone was like, this is a great time for music. I was like, no, it's actually really not. Yeah. Like, people's attention for the past couple of weeks was not where you thought it would be. People just constantly have like skitting between different records to listen to, but also like mostly the news. For the first couple of weeks, all I did was look at my phone and read Twitter. And I really felt that on the label side of things. And then it got to the point where me and an artist called John Major, we were just like, yeah, come on, let's just put a date on it and work towards something, because we can't let it hold us back for an entire year. And I'm just kind of having to be a bit more tech savvy than I would have liked to have been. I love getting the artists involved in playing live shows more, and I would usually kind of book a tour or a house show or something around a release, but there was just no chance of that. So yeah, I'm having to just get a bit better at tech stuff, which is a bit boring.
Yeah, that's. I think. I mean, what we're doing right now is a prime example of that, isn't it? I mean, it's not. I'd much rather be in the same room as everybody.
Yeah.
But then it's better than the alternative, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's a massive curveball for everybody. And there'll be some people that can do like some sick live streams, and I've seen some really incredible stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, you must have so much gear in your house to pull this off, you know? Like, I've got my laptop and this guitar, you know, that's as good as it's gonna get.
That's more than good enough. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
I did. It's interesting you say that. I did see a thing that it's 2020, you know, so we're living in 2020. When I saw a thing saying people were being shamed because of their Skype backgrounds, like people were getting rated on what does your background look like from your stream, and I was like, is this really happening? But yeah, apparently so. Apparently that's what's going down.
Oh wow, that's weird. I'm actually finding it I'm finding it really interesting to like do more stuff like this and going like I'm listening to podcasts more than ever. So I'm using kind of technology in a different way. I'm not playing live very much on the internet as much as I thought I would. I kind of started off doing it and then I was a bit like, oh God, okay. So I'm just kind of doing like one-off really cool things that just may be a little bit more interesting. I think that's probably just the way I'll do it.
Charlotte, what do you think about obviously people who have got like pending releases coming up have either shelved albums, put them back till the autumn, winter sort of time, I guess, where you'd normally get stuff coming out later in the year, or just going ahead with the releases. I mean, you talked about kind of people's attention spans and the music and stuff like that. There's no simple answer or easy solution for people that were sitting on albums or EPs or music or stuff?
Yeah, I think it's got to the point now where this has gone on longer than any of us anticipated in the beginning, and you just kind of have to look into the eye of the storm really and think, how am I going to make this work for me? I mean, there are obviously ways of doing things maybe a little bit more interesting. I think if you were going to release an album around this time, it would be terrible. But if you're going to go ahead with it, like do something different, just like have fun with it, because what have you got to lose really, I think I'd probably encourage people to really lean into the idea of just having way more fun than, doing a house show is really cool, but let's like make this even more interesting, let's do it on top of the dishwasher. I don't know. Just something
while it's switched on.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be an interesting gig.
That would be.
I love you, baby.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. I wouldn't say I'm lucky because I've got nothing to release, but there's quite a few people, especially in the Northants area, that have album campaigns going, and you just think, I really hope people are beginning to listen more. Like as the weeks have gone on and people are realizing that this is the way that the music industry is going to exist for a while. I really do hope that people are kind of like digging in a little bit deeper. They've stopped listening to the radio. Maybe they're actually buying music more than ever. So yeah.
Well, I'd say the one saving grace is two of my best friends work in music PR, work for the same firm. And they haven't been furloughed. They're working the whole time. They said it's been busy. Like the only one thing for them is they would obviously bring journalists to live shows, and that's the one thing they haven't been able to do. But aside from that aspect, like for them, they're saying they're not really seeing a lot of difference in terms of their day-to-day work for a release, and getting journos to review it and stuff like that. So it's like one positive state, but. We're talking levels, like they're, so it's relative to where you are, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that probably is the answer to a lot of it, really. I guess if you're Lady Gaga, you probably could do a gig on a dishwasher and it'd be brilliant.
I'd just like to point out that obviously, first time we've had a proper journalist on the show. And as Nick rightly said, why didn't we do that before? Because it asked a very interesting, insightful question, and we brought it down to vibrating on top of a dishwasher.
Yeah. Or, what are you drinking?
Yeah,
That's where we go. Yeah.
This should
Yeah,
be.
so Charlotte, what are you drinking?
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Braybrook beer,
Hey.
made in the village of Braybrook, in the Northampton postcode, I think, just past Esborough. And they are an incredible little brewery. This is a Keller lager, and it's amazing, really good. Braybrook. Really
Shout out to
recommend.
Braybrook.
I didn't know about them. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah,
Check
same.
it out. It's the only thing I'm drinking now. It's just really lovely. There's a bottle shop around the corner, so go around, pick it up. I made friends with the owner, and I did some Baby Woman Records beer. That's good.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh,
Is that still available to purchase, or was it like a limited thing?
I think I did like 50 bottles, and that was it.
And you drank all of them?
I think my friend and my girlfriend, I did it for a gig, and they must have drank like 15. I was like,
Good going.
Rule number 2: don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
I literally watched Scarface the other day, so that's why it's in my head.
Okay. Would it be okay if we had a song, Charlotte?
Yeah, of course, absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
This is something that I kind of going into the lockdown. I had like 1,000,001 like half written songs, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! I've got no excuse but to finish them." So I've mostly been finishing ideas that I've been sat on for a long time, and this is one of them.
Cool. The stage is yours, Charlotte.
Thank you. There's no truth inside your words when you swear and it's all away. There's no courage in your breath when you get it from a glass a day. I won't turn my back when I know there's a price to pay. I won't turn and blind my eye when I know there's a fine line between giving and trying, between trying and hiding, between hiding and finding. You paid everything you made. You've given every good thing away. Now you're lost in pain. The truth is you ain't been the same since the day she lay. Now you're out there gagging chains. I won't go and turn my back when I know there's a price to pay. I won't turn and blind my eye when I know there's a fine line between giving and trying, between trying and finding some kind of silver lining. Walk with me one more time. Leave it all be, leave it all be. Take my hand, follow me now. I'll take you away somehow. I won't go and turn my back when I know there's a price to pay. I won't turn and blind my eye when I know there's a fine between giving in and trying, between trying and fighting, between fighting and flying, between living and dying, between living and dying, between living and dying. Oh, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claps in the
Awesome.
chat.
Yeah.
Sounding good.
Thanks, guys.
That was really good. As usual, is that? Did you say that's one of the ideas that you've been working on that wasn't finished?
Yes, yeah, exactly that. I was I just had I had a crazy year last year. Like from July to Christmas, I was constantly touring, which was brilliant. But then I didn't write anything either, like not one thing. And I just had loads of little like half-written ideas. So I forced myself to finish them all.
That's
All of them.
I've
I've got 150 unfinished songs. Can you finish them for me as well?
Yeah, same.
Something that we briefly talked about before we came on air was that you wanted to just live a life of singing, songwriting, and paddleboarding. But unfortunately, you're going to have to go back to work.
Yes, tomorrow I am making flat whites for the people of Rothwell.
Well, I mean, it's a noble job. Yeah, exactly. I bloody love getting a flat white.
Yeah, I mean,
desperate.
yeah, it's all right. Like I knew I'd have to go back at some point. If anything, it just like made me really want to do music every day even more. So yeah, I don't know. I probably need to start writing some successful songs.
that would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that might work. Yeah.
I don't think it's your songwriting that's the problem. I think it's like getting it out there to people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that comment. But yeah, I think it is just getting it out to the right people, I guess. But hey ho, the road is long.
I think I think with you having your own label as well. I mean, that I would imagine is the challenge really, because in my perhaps uneducated experience, there's plenty of talented people about writing amazing music, much like yourself and the people you've signed to your label. But there is that, that's one piece of the puzzle, isn't it? It's promotion is the thing. It's getting it heard by enough people in the right places, which is obviously much more difficult now or right now, because although maybe we can spend more time focusing on social media, everyone is spending more time focusing on social media. So there's just so much noise. It's even harder to cut through that at the moment. How do you approach that when it comes to your artists on your label, when it comes to promotion, PR, all that sort of stuff?
One of the things I try and kind of not push them to do, but very politely suggest they should, is just to start doing things like a little bit differently, because I feel like for a really long time we were sold that we had to do things in a very regimented and particular way. And I understand that when you get to a certain level, there are certain things you should do, like, have a single, go on tour, get some press, radio, and then you do the whole thing again. But then I also think, that can really wear you out. That can be really boring to do in the end, and not always to a massive outcome. So I kind of encourage them to just have fun with social media and don't actually let them think it has to be as serious as maybe we all once thought it had to be. So if you kind of want to use your personality as much as possible throughout social media, because these days people want to know who you are as a person, and I feel like you kind of have to find a balance with that. You could be the kind of person that really doesn't want to tell the world who you are, but I think as an artist these days, you've kind of got to be willing to give more away than you maybe originally thought. And if that's the case, then just have fun with it. Like, be silly, don't take yourself seriously. I did a couple of weeks ago. I was watching MTV Cribs, and I was like, oh, okay, I was doing MTV Cribs. So my girlfriend has followed me around the house whilst I was saying like loads of rubbish about it. But then I nominated all the artists on my label to do the same thing. And it was just something different, you know, just like think outside the box, what's going to make people laugh, because if you make them maybe not laugh, but if maybe you make them think about you in a different way, they're more inclined to go and think, oh, what was that song they released that time? You know, what was that? And I think it's maybe like the long game, maybe what I'm trying to teach the artists that I'm working with. But if you're not having fun, then really what's the point, really?
Yeah, amen to that.
Yeah. I think that really that's what makes a difference. I think with social media, that, you know, anyone can have an Instagram account and post pictures of themselves looking good, but if what people really buy into, I think it works with selling stuff, whether it's music or cars or whatever. It's like the personality, the feeling, what are they like as a person, or what does it represent? And I think you're much more likely to be interested in an artist if you like them as a person, or their attitudes or their opinions. So the chance to see more of that is a good thing, I think. You know, maybe some people have got bad personalities. I don't know what a bad personality is, but you know,
mirror, bro.
Did you see what Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine said on this recently?
No, what did they say?
They pretty much, I mean, probably unsurprisingly because of the age of both of them, they were very much coming from the fed up and frustrated at the lack of kind of mystique around people nowadays. And obviously they were both, I guess, from a generation where, you know, you could disappear for 3 years and people would still remember you were there, and then there'd be a massive campaign around, hey, he's back. And then not necessarily living in a world where you need to be constantly in the spotlight, constantly, I guess, being seen to be doing, like you said, Charlotte, doing something which is slightly different to what everyone else is doing to stand out. They were quite critical of that. They were kind of almost frustrated that we know everything about everybody. And, you know, I totally get that, you know, that's great for millionaires sitting there moaning about, you know, that, but you know,
I remember being really annoyed.
But by people clearly are living in such a different, you know, world that they don't realise that actually people need to be doing this to, you know, keep themselves out there.
Yeah, I remember being really annoyed, like in the early 2000s, by libertines, though, like because I was like Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. I was like, yeah, I want my rock stars unattainable. You know, I want them to be like Bowie and Hendrix, like you just can't get near them. And then being really annoyed by libertines, like just constantly being at parties and being able to be seen everywhere and anywhere all the time. It's like, it's not really rock and roll, is it? They're just, I mean, you just see them like drunk everywhere in every pub in London. You can see them every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. But it really worked for them. And then now it's completely changed. The whole landscape's changed. And like Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine haven't changed with it.
But then saying that, pardon my ignorance, because this will show my age or just my lack of being cool. But Fiona Apple, is that who I'm thinking? She just released an album after not doing anything for a long time, and didn't it just come out of nowhere as well? It was just like, oh, by the way, I've recorded an album. Here you go. And as far as I know, it got a lot of buzz and a lot of people behind it, but because of that hiatus almost. So I think if you are the right artist, you potentially can pull it off, but they're becoming rarer now, those people who could pull it off and disappear for a bit. Like Kanye, for example, is an example. I imagine if Kanye suddenly disappeared from the limelight and then came back in 5 years with an album, it'd be like the biggest thing ever.
It would be the biggest selling record straight away, wouldn't it? So it's just, because of who he is.
Emerging artists can't do, you know. And, you know, even, I guess, even if you look at, for example, we talked to Don Brocco earlier, you know, if you look at the success they've had, you know, can they still go away for 3 or 4 years and come back? Could they do that? They probably couldn't, even at their height. You know, it's probably a thing of, you know, which only the select few, you know, Can the 1975 do it? Probably. You know, you get to that point where you are big enough that you can do it, but in the real world, it's just not a chance.
I remember having a conversation with someone who was a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, and he was really annoyed. Bruce is great. He was really annoyed that Bruce Springsteen had like written a book and kind of bared all in this book. And I was like, why are you annoyed by that? Like, that's actually, that book completely changed my life. Like, I loved reading that book. And he was like, no, I don't want to know everything about Springsteen. I don't want to know the reason why he wrote the songs. And I just looked at him like, you are a whole different person to me, because that's the kind of thing that I crave, like, as a music fan. But then, you know, I'm also from a time where Bruce Springsteen isn't the thing of the moment. He's like a legend. So of course I want to know more about that legend that I wasn't like around to experience. But he was really against it, and I found that really interesting.
Yeah, well, with Springsteen, for myself, like, I'm a huge fan of Springsteen. Sorry, Josh, I just jumped right over you there. Because of his whole thing, his whole shtick as being the working man, even though he never worked a day in his life, which is a funny joke he makes in the Broadway thing that's on Netflix. He's always had that shtick, and he's always been open about his songwriting and stuff. So I didn't feel that way about the book at all. I was like, give me as much information as you can about the man. I absolutely adore him. Yeah. But like, I probably wouldn't read a book about David Bowie, just because.
Is that because you want to being mysterious? You want to? Is that because you want to retain that kind of, I guess, image and perception that you have, and you don't want it not to be shattered, but to be changed?
Yeah, maybe that's the same as what Charlotte's mate was thinking about Springsteen. They're up on a pedestal, and you're like, oh no, I don't want the illusion shattered.
Well, sometimes you figure out maybe that they're just like a bit of an arsehole.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. I listened to Adam Buxton's podcast. He had Nile Rodgers on, and he worked on an incredible amount of music that I didn't know a lot about Nile Rodgers, to be honest. But it's absolutely fascinating episode. But he talks about doing some work, or a lot of work with Bowie. You might not want to listen to that, Nick. But back to Bruce Springsteen. I was never really a fan, only because I never really gave it any time at all. And then for some reason I got the audiobook. I don't know what made me listen to it, but I did, and then instantly listened to that audiobook, and then just bought all the albums after, and now I love it. It's great. I was thinking, what have I missed out on? But I think the thing that makes it interesting that I want to find out about these people is because I wasn't around when their music or their hits were out. So it's difficult to put that in context with what was going on at the time and what events were happening and what other music was around, what other musicians they were playing with. So I think that finding out more information, particularly in like a biography or whatever, it just gives you that context. I think that makes it a bit more juicy.
Yeah, what kind of cultural window of opportunity they found to become who they are.
The same thing happened, I don't know if any of you guys have watched it, the Taylor Swift documentary on Netflix.
It's great.
I haven't myself, Nick has.
I watched it. I felt completely indifferent about Taylor, but I watched it because I was mostly like nosy, really. I just wanted to see how the other half lived. So I watched it and was like, I don't love her anymore. I don't like suddenly love her, and I don't dislike her. I just watched into a window of someone's life, which was very interesting, but I haven't stopped listening to that album that she was promoting ever since. It's stuck in there, and I don't even really love it. I'm just like, but whatever. I don't know the reason why she wanted to make the documentary, but it worked.
I think that makes me think of anyone that writes a song, a band or a solo artist. When you might not like the song and you might not be interested in listening to it at all, but when you hear the story behind it, you hear the work that went into it, the hours of practice, the mistakes, the pain or the happiness that went into it, that more often than not, that completely changes your mind. Because when you just hear a song and you might not know the artist, you judge it. I mean, I do every time I listen to music. You probably shouldn't do that, but I think it's natural. You make a snap judgment. Is this worth my time, or should I move on to the next song? And then more often than not, as soon as I hear about the song and hear a bit more in depth, it just adds something real and a real element to it. I don't know. I'm having trouble articulating my point, but you know what I mean. It makes it feel like it's an actual piece of art. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah,
agree.
I think that's different.
Talking of songs, Josh.
We should have some more music.
Speaking of a piece of art, could we have another song, please, Charlotte?
Yes, you can. Yeah, before I start bursting all over you, especially. I don't know why I shouldn't take another book if that's the case.
You've got to incorporate it into the song now.
So one of my biggest fears is to like burp on stage, and it's a fear of mine, but I do it every single time. So if you ever come to the show and you see me very politely back away from the microphone, I'm always burping.
Been there, dude.
It always seems to happen in the first 2 lines of the verse, and then after that, I'm all right.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
It's literally like, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the song starts. Yeah. Okay, stage is yours, Charlotte.
Cool. This is a slightly newer. Well, I say a slightly newer one. The one before was really new, but this is something that came out last year, and this is "Follow You Down." You only get one trip around the sun. Sometimes you can leave this place before you've begun. Before you've begun. Before you've begun. But I'll follow you down. I'll follow you down. I'll follow you down. I'll follow you down. Maybe it's time for you to make a change. Maybe now is the right time to try and take the reins. Like before it's begun. Like before it's begun. But I'll follow you down. 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 I'll lay to sleep when I'm tired. No, you gotta fight, try. But I'll follow you down. 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 You only get one trip around the sun. And sometimes you can leave this place before you begun.
Claps in
Very
the
good, very good.
trance. Really good, man.
Thank you.
That was
Negatune.
cool. Yeah.
Didn't hear you burp either.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not
I was waiting for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably
Yeah,
will when I go off stage.
I don't know if you guys have seen any of the other shows, but we have a couple of recurring questions that we ask our guests every week. So our first question is, who is the most famous person you have seen in Northampton or the Northamptonshire area? And like I say, it can be someone famous, or Nick, you're good at explaining this.
Well, yeah, I don't know about everyone else, but I prefer them to be really shit celebrities.
Z-list. He likes.
So like
he
the
loves Z-list.
lowest rung of the ladder of celebrity.
Someone from Big Brother, something like that. He loves that stuff.
Yeah, fucking hell.
So
I saw someone from Big Brother years ago. I can't even remember his name. I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. But he played a gig at the Sound House with his band. And there was like 50 people watching at the Sound House in the main room. So like a 400 capacity room with 50 people watching. I was like, well, I know you've got to have a career after Big Brother, but this one's not going to go well for you.
Didn't happen.
I'll find out who it is.
We'll start with yourself. As someone who goes to a lot of events, photography and stuff, you got to have some good ones, surely.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, that a lot of them are probably respected names, and also one of the things, I guess, of operating in the media world is you get invited to quite a lot of these kind of when you get music out of the way of things. There's then a lot of people appearing in sort of like panto things. You get lots of celebrities making kind of appearances at different events, and they're all quite respectable. But two which have sprung out. I once saw Matt Letizia at the.
It's a good one.
It might be Junction 15A services on the M1.
The location's even better.
So, I don't want to say something like some musician or whatever, because we all see Alan Moore everywhere, but you don't always see Matt Letizia at a service station. And that's really annoying, because obviously you might have seen the pictures. You see, Andy Crofts bumps into Nick Cave at a service station, and I happen to be there and get Matt Letizia. I still feel slightly grieved by. The other one is Abby Titmuss at Kettering Lighthouse Theatre.
Nice.
That's a good one.
Yes.
That was arranged. We were only allowed to film her from the waist up. Fun fact.
Because she doesn't have legs. Little known fact about Abby Titmuss.
So yeah, they're funny.
Yeah, they're good. They're some good ones. Charlotte.
I'm trying to rack my brain. We're probably thinking like a Christmas switch on or something back in Kettering or something in the day. Oh my god, they had like S Club 7, but not when they were good.
They were the worst journalists, really. I mean, that this whole C-list celebrity stuff, and Kettering. Who was Kettering going to get? And she backed out. It was
Lindsay Lohan.
And yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the map.
Oh my god! I never knew that. That's mental.
How did that happen? It was election night, and didn't she go, where the hell is Kettering or something?
Yeah, on the Brexit vote, when that came in, it came through like Kettering was one of the first towns or areas to say they wanted to leave, and then she was like, Kettering, who even are you, Kettering? And that's yeah.
Slammed by Lohan.
I know. Like a Christmas message, like Merry Christmas, Kettering.
That's insane.
Christmas light switch-ons are
they are
a great shout for spotting Z-list celebs.
Well, Dave's story reminded me of I bumped into a guy I used to work with in the shop a few weeks ago, and he told me this amazing story of when he was out in a nightclub in Corby. I don't know if there are any nightclubs in Corby, but people can attest for me. But he lived there, and he was there with his girlfriend and a bunch of mates. And Razor Ruddock was just in the club, in this club in Corby. This is like 5 years ago. And Razor Ruddock then saw my friend's girlfriend and complimented him like she was a possession, and was like, "Oh, nice one, mate. Good on you. Yeah, she's really fit." And then when he was leaving, he was like, "Just got to say again, mate, your girlfriend, well done, mate. Really fit." And this lad I worked with was just like, "Cheers." And he was like, "Yeah, it was really bizarre. It was Razor Ruddock." Just complimenting me about my girlfriend. So that what Dave reminded me, saying Matt Letizia of that.
Wow.
That's
There
great.
you go. There you go. Well, there's some good ones.
He's probably, I don't know if you've seen the size of him now. He's probably someone that is, probably intimidating enough to be seen in Corby.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, and actually another football related one. Nick, Sean Dyche, a girl I work with, lives in the Northampton area. She goes to Cineworld, and she saw Sean Dyche in Cineworld on his own with his unlimited card, just going to see something. And she was like, "Is that Sean Dyche?" And apparently he lives around here. I don't know.
He does, yeah. He played for Northampton Town before he went into management. Yeah,
right. I didn't know that. Okay, but yeah, Sean Dyche, I got reminded of, is another one.
The man with the gruffest voice in the history of football.
The other slightly weird one, and it is somewhat Kettering related as well, was that time that, and football related, was the time that Paul Gascoigne was in charge at Kettering. Again, absolute madness.
Oh my god!
For a week, wasn't it?
It felt like years. Yeah, just randomly, walking through Kettering and sort of spotting Paul Gascoigne must have been odd.
Yeah, God. That is out there, definitely. Like, that's the thing. I never appreciate Kettering, Wellingborough, Corby, just because I stick to the town. But then you get these little gems of all over the place, of like Lindsay Lohan was going to turn the lights on, which I never ever heard of, which is just blowing my mind. Well, our other question that we ask our guests is recommendations. So stuff you've been watching or reading or listening to during the lockdown. To get you through it, that you'd recommend and shout out to people if they might not have seen it. Charlotte, anything?
Yeah, I've been listening to an artist from California, I think she's from. Her name's Madison Cunningham. Really, really cool artist. Her guitar playing is incredible. And then I haven't watched it during the lockdown, but I really recommend people go and watch Big Little Lies.
Yeah, really good show. Yeah.
Those TV shows that sometimes I just it comes to me and I can't help but really think about it. And I think about how much I love Reese, everything that Reese Witherspoon's doing at the minute. I love her.
Yeah.
And then, go and check out Braybrook Beer. Really good beer, people. Go check that out. What else have I been doing, really? Buy a paddleboard.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Get out there instead of watching stuff. Yeah.
On the river.
Dave, what you got for us?
One of them I posted about, I only saw part of it last night, but it is really worth checking out. It is the Nike and Michael Jordan documentary called, I'm going to get this right, One Man and His Shoes. It's doing the round on Vice at the moment. And it's just a fascinating insight to when Nike first released their Nike Air Jordan. And I didn't realize that they were banned. And obviously the best thing you can do is to ban a product because, for professional use, because then everyone wants them. It's
the whole effect.
Yeah. And the whole series of adverts that Spike Lee did with Nike and Jordan as well, I just completely forgotten about. And these are going back to 1991. So, I probably barely saw them, let alone, there's one out of the 11 that I remember. But it's just a really interesting insight into, what was probably, we all probably remember at school, people, that one kid that had Nike Air Jordan.
Yeah.
And just, just quite how this blew up. And I say, I only saw it last night and only saw part of it, but absolutely fascinating and worth checking out.
Nice.
The other thing kind of ties back into the music documentary thing, I guess. I saw recently the documentary on the now sadly deceased rapper Lil Peep. And it's one of those things that was, you know, you were talking about the Springsteen kind of the side of thing, which like wonderful insights into people's lives, and this kind of isn't. It's quite a sad kind of look at what an industry can do to people, and neither his collective of musicians nor his management really come off very good in it. And even if you have no interest in the genre, which is kind of emo trappy kind of stuff, it just shows someone that is just catapulted into stardom in, you know, a matter of a couple of years, and then just, you know, the effect it has on them. And it's just something which it tries to give that spotlight on someone whose every move is filmed, but you know, it's not a fun watch, but it's kind of a interesting watch into Nick has just disappeared or silhouetted into the industry. So check that out. That's probably on usual streaming services and stuff like that. I think it's called Everybody's Everything. It's just not your usual happy, upbeat, you know, isn't everything and didn't it all go well documentary.
Amazing. Sick. I'll check it out. Josh?
Yeah. Excuse me. I don't think I've watched anything new this week. I've been rewatching. I watched Trial by Media, which you talked about last week, Andy. Several episodes of that on Netflix. Very interesting. And then following on from that, the the People versus O.J. Simpson on Netflix. That's fantastic. And the R. Kelly documentary, which is scary but interesting. That's what I've been doing. Music-wise, I must admit I've been listening to a lot of Broco this week because I watched them on the live gig last Friday, maybe?
Yeah, we did have someone mention it. We did have someone mention it in the chat. 5 for 5 Fest it was called, and it raised £65,000 for the NHS. And Shikari were involved as well. And they did the Saturday and Broco Friday. Yeah, sorry, Josh. Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's really good. And I'm terrible for listening to new music, really. But having only recently got Spotify, I listened to like the Don Broco radio, so I got to hear a lot of the similar artists, and there was loads on there that I liked that I'd never heard of. None of which I can remember. Oh no, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes, which I knew of them. I knew of him, but I don't think I've ever listened to a single one of their songs all the way through. And I really liked it. So yeah, I've got to stop listening back to old audiobooks that I've listened to 10 times and start listening to new music. So yeah, they're my finds for the week.
Nice.
Nick, what about you?
Well, yeah, I didn't actually get to watch much in the last week. I was obviously been moving house. I did have link into David's music documentary thing. I watched the documentary that's on Netflix about the Tragically Hip, the Canadian band who they did a farewell tour. Their singer was very, very ill, and they just do a big tour of Canada arenas. They never really transferred to other countries, mainly because I think they sound a little bit too much like REM. But having delved into their music a little bit better, it's really good, and his lyrics are incredible. So I'd give that a recommend. It's not an easy watch because I mean the guy is coming to the end of his life, literally. So that's why they're doing the farewell tour. But it's a joyous celebration of their career. And what else? I watched Hollywood, the Netflix thing. Is it Ryan Murphy? I think his name is.
Yeah.
That did the O.J. Simpson thing and the
American Horror Story and
American Horror Story. Yeah. It started off really good, and then the last episode was an absolute abomination. Just complete shit show. Like one of the worst episodes of television I've ever seen in my whole life. It's got such a great premise to it about, like, you know, the beginnings of Hollywood, or like young actors trying to make it in Hollywood in the post-war era. And there's loads of great social commentary on about homophobia and racism at the time. And it starts off so good, and then the end just it's terrible. Watch it and then tell me what you think. It's pretty quick. It's like 7 episodes.
So was it just the last episode, or that was crap?
It starts like this, and then goes. And the last episode is fucking terrible.
Damn.
I found that with The Walking Dead. I got out of The Walking Dead at the right time. I think I watched the first series and maybe a little bit, and then had the sense to kind of I must have like just lost my way with it or something. But I still know people that have persevered, and it's just
yeah. My sister stuck with it, and she even says to me, "It's crap." I'm like, "Well, why are you watching it?" She's like, "I just have to see it through now." I'm like,
that's the problem. You get that investment bonds.
Yeah.
You got this far in. Yeah. I think I got maybe season 6 or 7 and then stopped. And I didn't like 6 or 7. So.
I gave up after a couple, you know, but
I've never watched.
Yeah. I mean the first couple are good, but I don't know, it goes a bit downhill. Like everything, like Game of Thrones. Oh God, broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart, that program. Yeah. If you haven't seen it. You say you haven't seen it. Watch season 1 to 6, and then when 6 ends, just be like, "Wow, I can't believe they cancelled the show and never did anything ever again." And you'll think it's like the best TV program ever. So,
no, you won't. I think it's shit.
No, well, there you go. I don't really have a lot of recommendations this week. I watched The Gentleman, which is Guy Ritchie's new film, which I didn't see in the cinema, which was cool. Like Guy Ritchie sort of back to form. Good crime thriller. But I'm listening to a lot of podcasts because I'm back working now. I need something to kind of like keep me focused while I'm at home. So I've been listening to Hardcore Histories, which is Dan Carlin's long form history podcast, and I listened to one about the atomic bomb, which was amazing and terrifying at the same time. And it led me then to rewatch Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States of America, which, if no one has ever seen that documentary, it's 10 parts. It goes from World War II right up to Obama being elected, the history of America that you're kind of not told. Amazing, like really eye-opening.
What's that? Is that on HBO?
Yeah, it was a HBO. I've got it on DVD, but it was a HBO documentary. So I think maybe Sky Atlantic you might be able to pick it up on. But if not, I'd recommend getting it and watching it. And then the only other things I watched were new Rick and Morty, which is great. And then I listened to
the first one was rubbish.
No, the new ones. I'm up to date on it, and it's really good. It's really good.
I've watched this. I've watched 3 so far.
Yeah, I've seen 4. So yeah.
Have you seen the one from last night?
Yes, yeah, it was brilliant. But the other then led me on to watch Solar Opposites, which is the new Justin Roiland show on Hulu, which is really good as well. If you like you like it.
3 of those, and it's just weirdly kind of good, isn't it? That.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. And then music recommendation from me. My friend Tom put me onto this. I'd never heard of him, but it's a guy called McG, and it's MK.GEE. And he's just released an album called The Museum of Contradiction. It's really good. It's like electronic Tame Impala done in this guy's bedroom. Can't recommend it highly enough. Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool.
Right, if you like that. But that's it. That's all I got.
Actually, the last few recommendations from Andy for music have gone down very well with me. So I'll definitely check that out.
Finally breaking through.
Yeah, I don't think I managed to get one in, but one album one album that I have listened to
First cat on the stream
has been Indian Queens have finally got their debut album out.
Oh yeah, they're good.
Indian Queens are a band which have played around here quite a lot, mainly I think probably Crawford and Esquire's Way, and they've been threatening to release an album for ages, and it's called God Is a Woman, and it's out now, and it's fantastic.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I like them. They're good.
Got a cat on my
Wasn't
back.
Jamie Johnson
right?
involved with them for a bit?
Not sure.
Oh.
I think he might have managed them early on or TM'd them very early on when they played the Crawford the first time. That's how I knew who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. The press didn't stretch any further than that for me.
Kind of, slightly, what do you think, Nick? Slightly it's not slightly psyche. It's alt rock, isn't it, really? But with a slightly dreamy kind of element to it.
Yeah, it's like 60s garagey psych.
Yeah.
So it's still rooted in rock and roll, and it's still guitar heavy and stuff, but Yeah, it's good.
Really, really good
Sick.
record.
Sick.
Cool.
Well, I think that's it, isn't it, boys and girls? Sorry. I'm just saying boys to everyone. I know it's really bad. But yeah, I think that's so. Dave, where can people check out your work, your music, photography, everything like that? Where can they hit you up?
My own website, which is davidtjackson.com. I'm doing some work over on New Boots with Phil Moore as well, which is like a monthly delve back into an archive of stuff. So we've just done May. June's photos are going to be coming back up there. What we're doing with that on New Boots is, rather than doing a year at a time, we're doing a month at a time. So you get an immediate kind of jump back through the years of any given month, and then we can just do a couple of articles each month. So they'll be on my website, they'll be on the New Boots website, and then in terms of the other press stuff, there's obviously main papers of the Chronic, Northants Telegraph, and also the surrounding counties like the papers in Bedford, Milton Keynes, which we're also, shouting about the good things going on in their areas. So yeah, and
Amazing.
At David T. Jackson.
Banging. Thank you very
Nice
much,
one, mate.
Charlotte. Where can people hear your music, the label, check everything out about yourself, the paddleboarding?
The paddleboarding is on Instagram. Yeah, well, everywhere is kind of the same, really. Just search Charlotte Carpenter, and I'll pop up in most places. Although there is a referee also called Charlotte Carpenter, and I'm not a referee, so that's not me. But yeah, search up my name, or if you're interested in seeing on what I'm up to in the record label side of things, look up Baby Woman Records. And I did a TEDx talk in December, and it was catered for how a woman can survive the music industry, but it's very transferable. That's online as well, so go watch that for 11 minutes and see me die inside.
It's sorry, no, I'm going to interrupt there. It's really good. It's really, really good. I thoroughly recommend it. Yeah.
Josh, thank you.
We'll add it to we'll add the links and everything to the highlight reel of this episode and stuff. So yeah, banging.
Yeah. Are we voguing,
Okay.
Andy?
We are voguing. So anyone who's watching, we're going to pose. If you could take a picture and tag us in it, the NN Social. You can also tag our lovely guests. So we'll vogue in 3, 2, 1. Vogue.
Oh.
And keep holding. Take your pictures. 3, 2, 1. Unvogue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Take
See you
care.
next
See
week.
everybody next week,
Bye.
8 p.m. Wednesday.
Episode 10. Episode 10.
Bye, 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 bye.